Welcome to the Milk Market Tidbit for the October Cold Storage Report that USDA released yesterday. This is Dr. Lawrence Jones with Farm Institute, and I'm recording this Tuesday morning, 26th of November. As we all know, that the Cold Storage Report is the second report that comes in the month that follows the Milk Production Report, and then in another week or so, we're going to get the Dairy Products Report. The important part of the cold storage report is it gives us the residual. We know kind of what went into cold storage. We're waiting to get the production so that we can actually calculate the disappearance. And one of the problems with this whole scenario is that cheese is in limbo for sometimes up to 30 days because it's not considered fresh and it's not considered in cold storage. So that always makes it a little difficult. So let's look at how this all came together this month. First off, there were revisions. It seems like USDA is doing a lot of revisions. Earlier in the month, they actually revised cow numbers and milk per cow up quite a bit. So that would have suggested there was more milk in September than we thought there was. Now, surprisingly, they also took cold storage and brought it down. So that would suggest that disappearance was very good in September. Now, for butter, there was very few changes. It came up just a little bit. So where did it actually come out? Well, we thought that there would be about a 27 million pound drawdown from last month, and that's exactly where it came in. And that was kind of calculated on how much difference there was in milk production, because again, milk production was actually on a per day basis down from September. Now, butter is a little bit more fickle. It came in a lot lower than what I thought it was, came in more in line with StoneX, but they actually missed the cheese one pretty big. So overall, I would say October cheese disappearance may be slightly less than September. In order to get this number, I brought disappearance down by about 10 million. And September cheese disappearance is probably better. After this came out, the trade really liked it. So again, it came out about 3 o'clock. The November to May contracts came up 12 cents as soon as this report came out. So the trade definitely liked what they saw in this report. And I keep coming back to the question of why would you put cheese in cold storage? Here is our November cheese price. Kind of if we're sitting here looking forward, and we don't necessarily want to put it in cold storage because there's no prices out there that are higher than we are here. Now, come December, that whole thing is going to change. And so, hold on to your hats in December and January because we might be putting cheese into cold storage with the idea of pulling it out 6 or 7 months later, 10, 12, 15 cents higher. But we do know there's new cheese capacity coming online, so this curve is a little bit surprising given that the fact that that is a known quantity. However, inflation is down. Right now we're down 9% to 2.5%. Now, there's a lot of stuff kind of popping around about tariffs from Mexico. If they do that, that's going to be significantly bad for cheese because Mexico is one of our biggest importers of cheese, so we just have to kind of keep an eye on that. However, in the short term, I do think there's some downward pressure on prices, and we've kind of seen that every time the market tries to go up. It kind of comes back down a little bit, and it's just because there's lots of fresh cheese around because you're not putting it in a cold storage. All right, so what's happened to cheese stock? So here's the graph of our October numbers. We've had this long-term uptrend and then we've turned down. One can argue that, these two values are probably going to end up on that long-term trend as we move out here, but clearly this point is much lower than that long-term trend. But interestingly, it came in right where we expected it to on a seasonal adjusted number. So there are no big surprises on that side, but we definitely are pulling down cheese stocks. And again, I thought that was pretty well expected. So if we look at where we are at cheese prices, the last global dairy trade was very strong at 219. However, our October USDA prices for cheese was also very strong at 224. So we thought, well, there would be no exports, but in fact the spot market is down to $1.70, and you can see that this red line and blue line actually don't deviate from each other very far for very long. And so that would suggest that the November USDA numbers are probably going to be down in that 170 area. So if we look at the American stocks, kind of the same thing. Of course, they're almost 58% of the total stocks, and we're on this long-term uptrend. These points are obviously going to end up on that long-term trend, but this one was significantly down. Other cheese stocks, kind of show the same thing. It may have started coming down a little bit earlier. This would be more of the Italians, and so there's been probably a little bit more exports of that. But this came in just a little bit lower than we thought it would be. Butter stocks are very seasonal, and they're a little bit more fickle because there's just not as much material in cold storage. So we've had this uptrend, and then we kind of came down, and we're back on that uptrend. And the biggest piece with this is there's just continuing to be high fat in the milk content. So we're going to be up 10 ticks probably this month, and that's just keeping kind of support for more butter stocks. And here is the forward curve. So anywhere in here you'd want to be putting butter into cold storage because you might be able to pull it out next summer, 20 cents higher. So this week is a shortened week. We're going to have Thanksgiving on Thursday. However, before that, we should get the National Dairy Sales Reports, which will be the 4th for November, which is a 5-week month. And then we will get the agricultural prices on Friday. Next milk market tidbit will be for the dairy products report and the class and component numbers next Wednesday.